Hello my dear students, welcome to Byjus exam prep. In this Super Saturday video, today we'll be talking about a very famous personality, famously a scientist, a natural philosopher, an architect, a mathematician, an astrologer. Yes, he was an excellent in many domains. That is the reason we call him as the jack of all trades. Yes, you heard it right. He's none other than Robert Hooke, also known as the English Leonardo. If I say in the late 1600 cc's or in the 1700, in the starting of 700, that era was considered as the we can say the booming era for science, because during that era lot many inventions, lot many discoveries, lot many theories were actually defined. And Robert Hooke played a pivotal role in the contribution in the field of science, in the field of astrology. And due to his contribution, still we are actually using some we can say his theories we are applying in the different practical applications, like if I say the suspension of a vehicle, the springs that we are using, or we can say the telescope that we are using, or the microscope for analyzing the cell organism. So definitely we are using his creations, his theory, or his laws till date. So in this video, we will be talking about what are the different creations or what are the different theories or discoveries that Robert Hooke has discovered. Along with that, we'll be talking about a very famous rivalry between Robert Hooke and Newton, and what went wrong that this relation went into a great rivalry. And definitely till the end of the video, we'll be able to understand what are his different contributions. So let us start this video and talk about the famous Robert Hooke, the Renaissance man, the jack of all trades, the English Leonardo, the English polymath Robert Hooke. Now, we all know that he was a master in many fields, but one thing that is actually made him in the back foot, that is he initiated many things, but he didn't went to the conclusion. That backfired Robert Hooke in many fields. Right, I will be discussing these areas one by one. If I talk about when he was born in 18th of July 1635 in England, and the late, and his father was we can say a priest in the church. And having that same family heirloom, many thought that he will also be a priest in the church, but he was very much interested in the field of science. He was very much interested in the field of uh, physics. So he contributed a lot, and in his childhood days only he was very much interested towards the science or mathematics or astrology. If I talk about his education, he went to the church college in Oxford University, where he has done his uh, graduation. He has done his education was completed in many disciplines. It's not was confined to one discipline. He have done several courses in the Christ Church College in Oxford University. Now, after the completion, he was working on lot many uh, experimentation. In 1660, when the Royal Society was created in England, in 1661, he was appointed as a curator of experiments. And the curator of experiment, the role of this person was to conduct experiments on the different theories to make it a law. Right, he and along with different companions, they used to conduct different experimentations, and based on that they were creating the theories, because that era that was talking about 1600 to 1700, that era was evolution of science, the discoveries was there. And he was appointed as a curator of experiment for the 40 years. He held that position for the 40 years. And later on, after this, Newton took his place, and from there he continued the Royal Society. Till date, we are having this Royal Society in England, which is being different scientists till date are still the members on the Royal Society, contributing towards the field of science, the technological advancement in the field of science. If I talk about the different fields where he have contributed, if I talk about mechanics, you might have heard about a very famous law, that is Hooke's law, which he has given, where he has formulated and understood the concept of spring, how the spring, the force is being how we are having a deflection in the spring. Due to the deflection, a force, spring force is being initiated, and he has given this law of elasticity, which definitely you might have heard or studied in class 11th or 12th, right? Along with that, the famous Hooke's law, he has given the stress strain diagram that we have seen in our mechanics, also in our strength of material also, where the stress is directly proportional to strain. That was also being given by Hooke's law, right? If I talk about gravity, now this was very we can say controversial, and many felt that this was the reason for Isaac Newton and Robert Hooke to have a different pathway. Actually, what happened, Robert Hooke actually gave the idea of gravity in when he was delivering a lecture in one of the college in one of the session in the Oxford. There he has talked about the gravity, the forces between the two particles, and later on, when Isaac Newton worked on this, he created the formulation, and he said that the force is always inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them, which we are still studying in the gravitational forces. But while developing the theories, Robert Hooke was actually felt very angry, because while creating the theory, he has never mentioned about Robert Hooke, because he was the first person who talked about gravity. The only drawback that Robert Hooke was, he actually didn't document it. He had a vision, he had an idea about gravity, but he didn't document it. Isaac Newton conducted the research, he conducted the documentations, and he created that gravitation theory. And from that point onward, Isaac Newton and Robert Hooke was having a great rivalry. Still, we call it as a great rivalry of in the field of science, if I talk about Robert Hooke and Isaacs. And that great rivalry didn't stop till the gravity. Later on, when Robert Hooke died in late 1700, Newton took charge of the Royal Society. When the shifting of the office was done, it is being said that there was we can say a story that is being heard that Isaac Newton didn't we can say preserve the documents, the photographs of Robert Hooke, and still till date in our technology, this great advancement, we are not having a single photograph of Robert Hooke. It was said that during the shifting of the office, many of the documents that Robert Hooke wrote, or many of the pictures that his pictures was not even preserved during that tenure. So there was huge controversies being created between Isaac Newton and Robert Hooke. But yes, the main reason was definitely the gravity, because gravity, the starting initiation was done by Robert Hooke, but that we can say his contribution was not being written in Isaac Newton's theory. Now, if I talk about famous your Hooke's law, we always have studied the spring force is equal to minus k into x, and from there only Robert Hooke stated that Newton's has taken his idea, and from there only he have created the Newton's laws of motion, and from there only we had this rivalry being started. Now, if I talk about the field of biology, because he was also an expert in this, he was also known as the father of cytology, and he has first given the word cell. The first coin, he was the first person to coin this word as cell, and this was clearly written in his one of the documents of Micrographia in late 1660s. If I talk about the other inventions, the other discoveries, he has invented the microscope. He has when he was studying in Oxford University in the Christ Church College, in the college itself, he was working on this creation of microscope. He was working on the discovery or the creation of the Gregorian telescope. So this was the microscope which was actually built by Robert Hooke, which is the handcrafted leather and gold tooled microscope. If I talk about astronomy, like always stated that he had a very pivotal role in the field of astrology, where he have discovered or created the Gregorian telescope, and from there he was the first person who has observed there is a rings being surrounded on the Saturn. He was the early observer of the rings of Saturn. Along with that, if I talk about in the field of architecture, because we have already stated that he's a jack of all trades. So what happens in the late 1666 666, in that era, there was a huge fire that outbreak in the England, which we famously known as the Great Fire of London, right? In the Great Fire of London in 1666, in that year. After this Great Fire, not many architects, not lot many buildings were completely destroyed. So at that time, the governors stated that Robert Hooke should be given the we can say the role for the surveying and the creation of the different building, and based on his idea, lot many monuments, lot many buildings were being architect. The famously the Montagu House, Royal Observatory, the Monument of Fire. This is actually considered as one of the famous architect suggested by Robert Hooke. This all was being created. The idea was given by Robert Hooke. Along with that, we had the Bethlehem Royal Hospital, whose architect was given by Robert Hooke. So he was actually the surveyor of the city of London. He rebuilt the London city after the Great Fire of 1666. Later on, he has given his prime ideas to different buildings that we have seen on the screen, right? That is your monument, we can say Royal Greenwich Observatory, Montagu House, Bethlehem Royal Hospital, and Monument to the Fire, right? So if I talk about horology, he was not restricted himself to the biology or this we can say physics, or we can say astrology. He was also into the science of timekeeping, which we call it as horology. There he has given two major contribution, because he already worked on the and he had created a very important device. He has analyzed the physics behind the spring and the spring force using that Hooke's law, which we are studying in the law of elasticity. He introduced that pendulum, introduction of the pendulum as a better regulator for clocks, and also he was working on the balancing spring to improve the timekeeping of the watches. And also he has given a very important concept behind how to identify the longitude of the sea by using this concept of the spring. Now, if I see the anchor escapement, he has been using as in pendulum, because this mechanics, this concept was used in the pendulum for measurement of the time. And also he was using this watch balance spring, which is used to identify the longitude of the sea level. So he was using the combination of spring and mass. Based on that, his idea was to identify the longitude of any sea level, right? So this was the different we can say the achievements of Robert Hooke. He started with biology, with the identification of the cell by introducing a microscope, where he saw the dead oak cells and he named that cell, he named that particular as cell, and this was the first time the cell word was used. And if I say other mechanical inventions, definitely he was not restricted to the springs. He talked about the air pumps, he talked about the universal joints. In the field of medical also, he talked about blood transfusion and artificial respirators. So this was all he had discovered in 1665. So definitely the famous Robert Hooke, the forgotten genius, he has talked about lot many things. The English polymath, he had termed about this word as cell. The curator of experiments in the Royal Society of in the Royal Society, he has talked about he was the first person to talk about the expanded of when what happens when you are heating any substance, right? The first to state that all matter expand on heating. He designed the universal joint, which is still being used in the motor vehicles, and he was the first person who tried to show that earth and moons are having an elliptical orbital. So there are lot many discoveries, but still because of huge controversy, Robert Hooke was not being remembered as of, because as of its great impact in the pivotal, or playing a very pivotal role in the field of science. So this is about Robert Hooke, the great English polymath, the jack of all master, jack of all trades, and definitely the resonance man. Okay, so this is all about Robert Hooke. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you face any doubt, or if you have any suggestions, I'm happy to take up and happy to help you out. So this is from my side. This is Suraj Gopi signing off. I hope you all enjoyed, and do subscribe to this channel for more such awesome videos. Thank you guys. Bye bye. Take care, stay safe, and enjoy your day with Byju's exam prep. Thank you.